Hello everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Candy Hough, and through my business, Angel Healing House, as a licensed Reiki Master Teacher, an angel practitioner, as an international radio host on my own program called Angel Healing House Radio on Blog Talk Radio, and as an author and also a writer, I have the infinite joy and honor of being able to channel angel messages from my angelic family who are called the Posse of Angels. Now, in this November 2013, the Posse of Angels are telling us that many of us find ourselves at a crossroads in our lives as we are looking at our lives. We've cleared and cleansed a lot of emotional issues from the past, and we have honored and respected ourselves by letting go of those dishonoring and disrespectful people in our lives. And now in this November 2013, well, we find ourselves in a very new time of spaciousness as we await the new to come into our lives. Well, the Posse of Angels are giving us some insights, and they're giving us some messages as to how we can deal with the new coming in. And the topic for this particular subject is called Write a New Story for Your Life. You know, many of us have come to that significant juncture, that crossroads in our life's journey. And it has all to do with several things that have occurred to us as a collective consciousness. You know, the first part of this grand journey was for all of us to remember our divine eternal natures. And it doesn't matter, viewers, what you have experienced in your life, and it doesn't even matter the choices that you have made, because underneath all of our choices, we are divine. Now, to help us with this, many of us spent a lot of time over the last 10 years, our time, our focus, and our money at New Age shops. You know, whether we spent our time devouring spiritual books or watching videos like The Secret, or we attended spiritual workshops, all of these things were helping us to remember the spiritual wisdom that we were already born with and we already had inside of ourselves. Now, once this remembering of our spiritual wisdom was done, many of us then felt compelled to share our newly awakened awareness with others. We then embarked on an immense time of service and devotion and helping others through our work as life coaches, massage therapists, alternative therapists, Reiki master teachers, and angel practitioners like myself, and motivational speakers, just to name a few areas. And then the energy from that immense phase of helping others began to noticeably recede. And the Posse of Angels are telling us that it began to recede around September 2011 as the universe asked us to turn the mirror back on ourselves and reignite our dreams and our desires by bringing forth our creative talents. This saw a veritable flood of lightworkers begin to publish their books, create YouTube videos, and we attacked the social network markets with podcasts and webinars, and we wrote newsletters and blogs, and some of us even established our own radio programs, like myself. Now, in order for us to have arrived at this most important threshold of very new beginnings in this November, the Posse of Angels is saying that this never would have occurred unless we decided to write a new story for ourselves. Reviewing our past literary efforts, many of us can clearly see that the chapters that we had previously penned, well, they were written with a much darker ink. This stands to reason, as much of the content that we focused on was heavy, and it was written with a disheartened, a disillusioned, and quite a disappointed, unfulfilled pen. Looking back over the story of my life before I awakened, I can clearly see that what I wrote for my story was filled with fear. It was filled with low self-worth and self-denial. Rereading my past chapters, I saw that they had to be released as their dark content no longer resonated with the level of light that I now embrace. So when it came to rewriting and to the chapters of my new story, I went about releasing an abusive marriage and released the predictable programmed way that I was following and allowing myself to live other people's versions and other people's visions for my life. Now, once those pages were released, I stared at the blank pages, and that scared the heck out of me. It had been so easy to allow others to tell me what to write and determine the content of my book of life. But now the power was all in my own hands, and I decided to write what I wanted to read about in the future. Along with choosing the content for the story of my life, I just started to write with a very different kind of pen. I chose to write with a fearless pen, a pen that was authentic and empowered, and as a result of this, my new chapters took on a very different feel. Suddenly, my life went from being a predictable tale of blame and having written myself as a victim and to turning my story into an adventure thriller. My story became one in which myself, the heroine, was living life on her own terms and facing the thrills, the spills, the challenges, and the triumphs of living a life without compromise. Reading over the new chapters of my book of life, some of the chapters were quite sad, while others were happy and joy-filled and exciting. Like any good novel, my story now contained moments of struggles, perilous uncertainty, and a renewed faith in myself and God. These then led to restored hope and overwhelming achievements, successes, and victories. Now, was writing a new story for my life easy? Well, no and yes. The hardest part was deciding whether I was going to stop writing my life with fear and limitation as the main characters. Once I chose to change my main characters to faith and courage and strength of my convictions, an intriguing tale turned into a whole different novel. Having now written new chapters for the story of my life over the last 10 years, I see that in every moment of every single day, I have the ability to edit and alter my life story. Realizing that the power lies in the wielding of my own pen, I know that life does not just randomly happen to us, as we are always choosing what to write. Some people love to write about drama, tragedy, and conflict, and they seem to derive such joy from being stuck in a loop of being a victim and speaking about chaos and hearsay and gossip. The chapters of these people's stories almost always contain lots of judgment with very little resolution and a whole lot of blame and fault-finding. Then there are other writers who choose to look on the brighter side of life and write content that is uplifting, inspiring, and it actually elevates the soul. These people do not necessarily have an easier life, but it is their choice to change their perspective and write about their experiences as blessings, which makes their stories inspirational reading. The Posse of Angels is saying, so, what kind of story have you written for your life so far? Is it one that you love reading, or do you prefer to hide the story of your life in some dusty attic or forgotten area of the basement? If we have previously chosen to write a story that was written with a sad, fearful pen of limitation, it is vastly important to go back, wipe off that dusty book, and reread its chapters, for it's in the rereading that we will acknowledge the struggles and the pain and the heartache that we endured and so often pushed us to get to the stage of writing a whole new story. Well, when I go back and reread what I wrote for myself before I awakened, viewers, I am not embarrassed, but I'm so proud of myself as to how far I've come. I have had many clients tell me that they have a book inside of themselves, but they've just not written it as yet. They look at my beautiful, inspirational book, Angels of Faith, and they ask me, how did I write it? How did I prepare for writing it? And quite simply, I say that a writer writes. An inspired writer doesn't think so much about what they're going to write with their mind, but an inspired writer thinks and allows themselves to feel the story in their heart and then co-creates with the greatest source of all, which is God, in order to pen their story together. When I chose to stop writing myself in my story of life as the victim who was always blaming and finding fault in others, I started to write myself in my story as the triumphant, successful heroine of my life. And you know what? My life began anew. The characteristics that I write for myself as the heroine now are joyful, they're childlike, they're adventuresome, they're curious, they're brave, they're authentic, they're true, they're courageous, and above all, they are fearless. My heroine chooses to script chapters that are positive and challenging, passionate, loving, non-judgmental, forgiving, and filled with my faith in myself, in God and the angels. And as a result of this, the novel of my life is an unbelievable bestseller. And the sequels to come, they are even more astounding. And if you have not started to write a new story for yourself, please, viewers, start today. For your new extraordinary life, well, it cannot begin if you keep writing the same less than desired content with the same less than desired characters and pen. So happy writing to all of you. Thank you so much for viewing my YouTube videos. If you want to learn more about my services and my products and my business, Angel Healing House, please go to my website, which is www.angel, A-N-G-E-L, healing, H-E-A-L-I-N-G, house, House.com. And from this day forth, if you do not like the story that you've written, write a new story for your life and go out and fashion an extraordinary life for yourself. Sending you lots of love and blessings. Until next we meet, take care. Bye.